Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our next edition of our Spotlight interview series. And today I'm really excited to have with me Jaasiel Chapman, who is with Hamilton County Public Health in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he's actually wearing his Super Bowl shirt.
Hooday.
Hooday. So we're very happy to have Jaasiel with us. I met Jaasiel about 6 years ago, we figured out, or 5 years ago, at the beginning of HIV Prevention Trials Network study that was launching at the University of Cincinnati to do an investigation about the drug cabotegravir, using that for PrEP. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, and just in general on Jaasiel's done a variety of different HIV prevention and community development work. And he's very active with other interests as well that we're going to hear about. So we'll go ahead and welcome him to the show.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ruffner, my friend. So good to see you. So glad to be here. It's definitely an honor.
Thank you. Thank you. So the way we usually start out, and I think this is an interesting piece, and I don't know that you and I have ever even talked about this in our relationship, but, you know, we always like to ask people, what's your earliest memory or context about hearing about HIV?
Actually, that's probably a three-pronged answer. My earliest recollection is Ryan White and all the publicity that came with a young kid being HIV positive. Then Matthew Johnson, who we see the jersey right behind you. And then someone from church that actually died from AIDS. And it was one of those things where you know the lifestyle they were living. So, you know, of course, you know, it added that stigma, that negative stigma to, so those are my earliest recollections of HIV. They always stick out.
So when that happened at church, about how old were you?
I was, I believe, around 12.
Around 12, huh?
Yeah. So I was just coming into knowing who I was and knowing that I was attracted to men.
And so were people talking about that person was also gay, or?
Yeah, you know, it was the whispers of, well, you know, their lifestyle. So, you know, and it just put a fear in me that, you know, the lifestyle, like, you know, like you don't want to live that lifestyle because you don't want to get HIV and die. So that was my earliest feelings towards HIV. It was negative. It was, as far as being gay, negative feelings for myself, which, you know, so many of us have experienced that in our journeys. So, you know, and it took a while for me to be able to heal from that church hurt, that, you know, just not only that one instance, but so much more that happened in church.
Yeah, that's a young age to have that association kind of sealed in there. So, so I know that you started out, though, working for a faith-based HIV prevention organization, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
Yeah. So tell us about how you got into doing work in HIV. Like, how did you find your way to doing paid work in HIV prevention?
Yeah. So my journey is so interesting when it comes to that. So I was actually signed to Sony Records. I was in a gospel group. And during that time, when I was signed, I had two friends that unfortunately passed away from HIV. And so I always said, if I ever had an opportunity to honor them and do some work in HIV, I would. So when I ended up leaving the group, my deal expired, and I was just kind of in a place where, like, all right, what the hell is next? And so I was like, you know, let me just do some research and see what kind of work I can do. And I ran across for Carice, you know, with the one and only, the legendary Miss Mamie Harris.
Who was
like
another guest on our Spotlight series.
she is phenomenal,
Uh-huh.
phenomenal. And so I reached out to them, and they just took me in and just showed me the ropes. Sent me out to LA with the Black AIDS Institute. I did the program out there, and they just groomed me and just was so patient and just allowed me to come into my own on this journey with as far as being an advocate for HIV. So that's how that came about, and that's I am forever eternally grateful because it's because of Miss Harris and that organization that I am where I am today.
Wow. Yeah. So the Black AIDS Institute, I know, I knew about Mamie going there. She talks a lot about the transformative experience that was for her.
Absolutely.
And I know that Kamisha also went to that program. So tell us more a little about what kinds of things you experienced in going through the program there.
It was, it was so transformative. One, Mr. Phil Wilson, the founder of Black AIDS Institute, like he's a rock star in the
Yeah.
HIV world. So just being able to be in his presence and his energy was phenomenal, and being able to be at UCLA where they were holding the programs and learn from professors that had actually been helped discover or were some of the discoverers of what we now know as HIV. Just being able to gain that knowledge from them and learn the science behind HIV. And one tidbit that it's not necessarily HIV related, but being able to see the HeLa cells, Henrietta Lacks, which they no longer use, but to actually be able to see those cells in person was something that I would definitely take with me. But that entire journey was a year and a half going back and forth, and it was something that it was invaluable. When I talk about the life cycle of HIV, it's like, I know what I'm talking about because of the knowledge I gained from being out there.
Yeah, I think one of the things that always impressed me about Phil Wilson, and that I wish that I could speak like he speaks, because what he does is he's really disarming in terms of if you're defensive, or you got a chip on your shoulder about whatever you're thinking about race or HIV/AIDS.
Right.
He has this way of just cutting right through all of that and making people feel comfortable,
right,
while he's busting down all these stereotypes and perceptions. And I just wish that I could be that slick, in terms of being able to just have that flow out of me and make people feel comfortable that way. I think it's really impressive. It's do you know what Phil's doing now?
So I know he's retired and traveling the world.
Yeah,
living his best life.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting to see an organization, that's in transition that way, where you have this person that's so identified with it,
right?
And, then they're gone, and how does that all play out?
Right. Right.
So
yeah, he built an amazing organization, and he poured his life into it. He's a rock star in this arena. We talk about HIV. He's definitely a rock star. So I'm forever grateful for that experience.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So, one of the reasons I really wanted to have you come on and talk about your work, and I wasn't aware you've got a new gig right now. You're new in a job.
Yes.
So tell us about that gig, and then we'll kind of go back in time. So we're going to jump around here a little bit. So tell us about what you're doing now.
So the EHE, the Ending the HIV Epidemic Initiative. We know that the federal government identified 57 jurisdictions that have high rates of HIV infection. In Hamilton County, Cincinnati was one of those jurisdictions identified. So we received federal funding through our Hamilton County Public Health, the health department, and they needed, what part of that funding was to hire a coordinator. And I was fortunate enough to get this role. So it's brand new. I started at the end of November. So I am still building out the program. Actually, after I'm done talking with you, I have to interview someone I'm hiring my staff. So, just building it out. So I'm excited because I feel like Hamilton County, Cincinnati can be the catalyst to show the rest of the world how we end this damn thing. Like, because we can do it.
Right.
We have the tools in place to end the epidemic. So I want Cincinnati as a whole, the community as a whole, to come together and show the world how it can be done successfully.
Yeah, it's been really interesting for me being down here in South Florida. It's a very different kind of community. Obviously, a lot more here in Fort Lauderdale, a lot more gay presence, gay influence, and awareness kinds of things. And then just the whole metro area. There's about 6 million people here in this metro area from West Palm down to Miami Beach. And when you think about Cincinnati, it's much more contained.
Yes.
So the whole metro area of Cincinnati is about the same size as Broward County. But, I wanted to run this by you, what you thought about this. I always felt like in Cincinnati, we were so close
to
be able to do this because we had a small enough number of people and a small enough number of providers that you could really track what was going on, and you could tell where people went. So, and I remember meetings that we would have in the community where we would actually sit down and talk about that, and say, where is Alex? And then someone from another agency would say, oh, he's still here, he came in, and then we were able to that sawed down a lot of our numbers. The care continuum look a lot better because people really weren't lost to care. They were just someplace else.
Exactly. And it's so interesting that you say what you just said. There was a young lady that just started at Maytech, and I was talking with her, and I said, you're going to quickly find that we all know each other. All of us that's doing this work in this city, like, it's a small, tight-knit group. Everyone is mix and mingle into something, but we're all together. And you're going to quickly know who the players are in this game.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And Maytech is the training and education part, right?
Yes.
Under the Ryan White program. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a really interesting thing. Well, I think I'm psyched that you're in that role. Because you certainly have had a great lead up into it and have a unique perspective on it. So let's talk about this HIV Prevention Trials Network job that you had. And
you froze up there for a second, Andy.
Oh, did I? Huh?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to talk about the HIV Prevention Trials Network job because I think that was a really unique preparation for you to go to where you are now.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us about how you found your way to that and what kind of stuff you did for that.
So when I was with Fort Carice, we did a prep summit. And I had asked Dr. Carl Fichtenbaum to be one of my speakers at the prep summit. And Chairman Kors came out, and it just so happened, it was basically perfect timing. They were about to get the HPTN, HIV Prevention Trials Network study 083, and they needed a coordinator for that. And so Sharon approached me and said, would you be interested? Like, hey, I'm always interested in growing. So that's how that came about. It was just, I happened to do it. We happened to do this prep summit, and there was this prep trial. And I was very interested in educating the community on PrEP, especially the Black community, because, we are at the we are disproportionately affected by the virus. And you know, there are so many people that are eligible to take PrEP that are not on PrEP. So I want to push that education out to the community as much as possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a huge issue that so many different communities are facing. One of the things we're excited about
Right.
at the museum this summer, we have a gay theater company here in Manners, and they're going to be doing a play called 1 and 2 that's
yes.
about HIV among Black MSM, and I think it's going to be a really great thing. We're looking forward to this theater has started to do more sort of community talkbacks.
Right.
You know, kind of
I
get
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, because it's crazy, like to have that data showing that 1 in 2 Black men who have sex with men have a 1 in 2 lifetime risk of contracting HIV. It's insane when we have, it's 100% preventable. We have the tools to prevent it, but you know, we just haven't done enough to have equitable access to these tools. So I love that, you know, I would love to see that play 1 and 2, you know, because hopefully one day in our lifetime it will be 0 and 0, like just like 0. No one's getting it anymore. That's the goal.
Yeah. So this prevention trial that you worked on was to test whether or not cabotegravir would work as a PrEP, so an injectable PrEP.
Yes.
How would that work for people? So how long did people, when you initially started the study, how long were people going to be enrolled in it? I can't remember the protocol on that.
It was for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a long time.
So your role in the study was to go out and explain to the community what we wanted to do, what you wanted to do in the study. So how did you do that? How did you try to you know, make connections? Because you did. The enrollment came, and you were very successful. So how'd you make that happen?
I'm a believer in the old school saying, you know, meet people where they are. And that's what I did. You know, I would go out to the bars, go out to the clubs, different organizations, and just have conversations with people. And, you know, just teach them on the benefits of PrEP and what PrEP was and what PrEP is. And, you know, a lot of times, especially when you, the majority of the participants that were on the trial, they wanted to be African-American men. And so we like talk to African-Americans, you talk about research, you know, it's always a red flag, like, you know, research, you know, but understandably so, because of the medical mistrust in the history of this country. So that's something that had to be addressed as well. And I think it made it a little easier that the person that was talking to the majority of the people actually looked like them. So, you know, that gave me an extra trust factor where, you know, I'm in this with you and this is legit. You know, like the atrocities that have happened in the past in this country, there are policies in place to ensure that that does not transpire ever again. So, you know, I think that was, and it was a good time for research. I'm so glad it was pre-COVID because
oh yeah, can
because now because now public health and just health field in general, like it's all the misinformation that's just out there just running rampant and being spread like wildfire. You know, even like us talking about with HIV, you know, just hearing people say that the vaccines have HIV in them, and it's like where are people?
Yeah,
it's sad. It's sad. But you know, that just lets us know that, you know, the work still needs to be done. There is education that still needs to be taught, and people need to be able to have someone that they trust. And that's something I never took lightly, that the 86 people that we enrolled, like, I formed some bond with each one of them. And they came to trust me. And it was an honor that, I'm helping my community. And I have these people, and a lot of them I still talk to this day. Like, we're good friends and we hang out. So it was a great experience. Definitely a great experience.
Yeah, very. I mean, that you could see the reward in it. You could see the what is it? The benefit, the outcome.
Right.
That they were connected to something, and much more aware, no matter what arm of the study they were in.
Right.
And I've forgotten about that 3 to 5 year time frame. How old were the people?
So 18 on up. So we had, our youngest was 18, and our I think 72 was the oldest participant.
Wow, I didn't realize it went up that high. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, I was on a call a couple of days ago. We were talking about having STI trainings for our elders, our older generation. It's like, just because someone is 70 plus does not mean that they are not, they don't have urges, they don't want to have fun. We look at the STI outbreaks in nursing homes. They're not worried about pregnancy, but there are other things now they have to worry about. So that's why I was so glad that, because when that gentleman called, he said, you probably don't want an old man. And say, like, absolutely. We want you to be protected just like anyone else. So I was happy that we had him in the study as well. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So what I wanted to, one of the things I let you know that I wanted to ask you about too was, so as you look out at the future, and both for yourself as well as for in general in the world of HIV prevention and what we're doing with the epidemic, like what do you think is going to work? Like and
that's a great question. That's a great question. In the era of COVID, I think it has made things so much more difficult when we are trying to educate and give people scientific truth. When now the science has been questioned, which is, science should be questioned. But when, you have people that have devoted their lives to research and to medicine, to where, you have individuals that have no type of medical background speaking to the masses, and the masses are receiving. It's like, how do we reprogram? Like, let's go back to where we listen to the medical professionals and we didn't call for them to be fired or imprisoned or whatever, what have you. So once we are able to get back to where, common sense is once again the name of the game. And, people are open to receiving credible scientific truth from credible people that have studied and devoted their lives to this work. I believe that we're definitely going to end this epidemic. It's just going to be a little more tough now because of where we are, the climate, everything. But it's you just get tough with it. You just got to fight harder.
Yeah, well, I think that was definitely something. Maybe the hope is in these community pieces that you're talking about, because I think we do have to look at ourselves a little bit in the medical and scientific community and the public health community about how we're messaging people.
Right.
And there was this awareness in that HIV Prevention Trials Network, because I remember that whole process of getting on board.
Right.
It was very intentional. You know,
Absolutely.
we set a goal and we said, you know, we need to get to these communities. We want to hire somebody that's reflective of those communities. So we searched, we networked. And I think it's the same kind of approach. You know, I think when you look at the Ryan White program,
right,
that's a great model for universal health care.
That is so true.
You know, it just, because you take all these other things into account. Because it's not just do you have a medical appointment, it's, are you stably housed? Do you have food? Do you, you know, what are all the things, the reasons why you're not getting better? So I think hopefully we'll kind of take the part of this that we are dealing with all this mistrust, and take a little bit of responsibility for our part in that. And do things like they did in bringing you on to really get in and do this.
Yes.
You know,
you hit on a great point, Andy. I have always believed that it has to be a holistic approach, especially when trying to continue to keep people engaged in care. You know, there's a reason why individuals aren't taking their medicine. You know, maybe they'll have stable housing. You know, if they don't have stable housing, you know, if they don't have a place to lay their head, they're not worried about taking a pill every day. You know, they're trying to just survive. They don't have food, no clothing. So, you know, it's a whole holistic approach. And I've always believed that, you know, it's just not this one thing. There are so many components that come into play. And so that was a great point that you hit on. Yeah.
Well, you know, thank you for that.
I mean, you're Andy Rufter, like, you know, wouldn't expect anything less.
Well, no, we have a little mutual admiration society here, Jaasiel, no doubt. So as always, we get through these, you know, I'm like, I could sit and talk to you for a real long time, and
we have to do that soon. We need to just like
yes. Well,
come down to sunny Florida.
You got to come down to sunny South Florida and visit. So
get my toes in the ocean.
Exactly. Well, as we go to wrap up, we always end with give us more of a rounded picture of Jaasiel. You know, so when you're not out fixing these HIV, when you're not out ending the HIV epidemic, what kinds of things do you do to recharge and, you know?
You know what, I love to try new things, but if I am truly honest, I am a nerd at heart. So give me a book or give me some good old jazz music and I am in heaven.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
all right. So what's one of the books that you have really enjoyed lately?
I can never pronounce his name. Ta-Nehisi Coates. And I can't remember the name of the book. But his latest book was a really good read.
Yeah, he's an amazing writer. I really enjoyed reading him too. So
yes.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and bring this to a close, which is way too short.
Right.
But thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. This is a real important part of our work here at the World AIDS Museum, is to try to help. It's the formal name is the World AIDS Museum and Educational Center, and we really want to make people understand everything that goes into the progress that we have made in HIV. So we not only kind of remember and memorialize all the losses that we have, which are really important in understanding the whole trajectory of the pandemic of AIDS. But there's this other piece as well that I really want people to understand, all the contributions that AIDS has given us, and that if we paid attention to the things that AIDS has taught us, we might have done a little bit better on this pandemic that we're currently dealing with. So anyway, thank you again, Jaasiel, and we'll go ahead and close out for today. And it
was a pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
All right.